Welcome back to the Grumpy Historian's Guides. I know it's been a long time since my last one. I do apologise. So I'm returning to the Pillars of the Earth to look at episode 3 and starting again from the beginning because this is the main segment I want to talk about. This is a scene in which Aliena and Richard go to their father's trial and try to plead for his life. The basis of that is that Aliena promises to put her brother into the king's army to prove their loyalty. But this whole scene is slightly absurd because the king asks Richard, "How old are you?" "Oh, I'm 16. There is no way that a nobleman's son, the son of an earl no less, in the 12th century would reach that age and have no idea how to use a sword or any other kind of weapon. It's just absurd. I mean, there's a scene in the previous episode where he has to fend off an attacker of his sister and he's got no idea what to do with a sword. He just doesn't know how to use it at all. Again, ridiculous. As I said previously, boys were sent off at quite a young age to foster in another household. They would have been taught how to use weapons. They would also have hunted. They'd have used bows and arrows. It's just inconceivable that a nobleman's son at 16 would not have known how to use weapons. He would probably already have been in the king's army, or at least in the military retinue of another nobleman by this period, or by this time of life rather, at 16. The whole basis of this is just silly, although I will allow for the fact that in the original book Richard is a lot younger. He's only about 12. But still, just the idea he would not have had any military knowledge or any knowledge of weapons at that age is, yeah, slightly insane. There were cases of young boys actually on the battlefield at 16. This is a picture of the Black Prince, the son of Edward III in the 14th century. He fought in battle at 16. Prince Hal, the future Henry V, he was on the battlefield at 16, got quite badly wounded actually. So the whole basis of this storyline is just a little bit silly historically. The other point I wanted to make is that it's next to impossible that a nobleman's children would have just been abandoned and left to fend for themselves like Aliena and Richard are in the story. She has to become a wool merchant or something. That just wouldn't have happened. They'd have had relatives who could have taken them in, or even the king would have taken them in, maybe granted their wardship to a trusted nobleman. That was actually a very good source of revenue money for the king. It's just not how the system worked in those days. They didn't just abandon the children of nobles to go and fend for themselves and make their own living or starve. There's also this part in which Prior Philip decides to offer an indulgence to everyone who works on rebuilding the priory. Now, I'm not sure if this is accurate. I think only the Pope could offer indulgences, maybe a bishop. I'm no expert in church law, but it doesn't seem right to me a prior doing that. You reply in the comments if you know better. Another thing that does annoy me in a lot of medieval movies is they keep calling him father. He's not a priest, he's a monk. Medieval people would have known the difference. Please stop calling him father, but they don't. And honestly, what's going on with Regan and Henry Hamling? I mean, this is not in the book. We can get that they're creepy and nasty without a weird incest dynamic. It's not necessary to the story at all. Yeah. Final bit here is a bit of a humorous aside. Look at the wall decoration. If I'm not very much mistaken, that is the Bayeux Tapestry. Bishop Wherein is in a castle, well, sort of an obscure country castle, and he's standing in front of the Bayeux Tapestry. Why? It's like the historical advisor said, "Oh, what would they have had on the walls in medieval castles?" "I know, the Bayeux Tapestry. Let's buy a cheap copy of it." Fun fact, we have a tapestry at home with a panel from the Bayeux Tapestry on it. I wonder if they got it in Canterbury like we did. So that's all from me for now. Don't forget to follow this page or follow me on Patreon, and I shall be back soon with another Grumpy Historian's Guide. Goodbye, peasants.